A 14-year-old teenager relentlessly attacked 5 children, killing 2 of them using brutal methods. He even wrote letters challenging the police and media in 1997. The cruelty of the perpetrator prompted the Japanese parliament to make a decision to amend the law to lower the legal age for criminal responsibility. The Kobe child murders. May 27, 1997. An unforgettable day for the students of Tanahata Elementary School in Kobe, Japan. They came to school as usual, but could not imagine that day would become a horrifying day in their lives. At the school gate, they discovered a bloody head, a terrifying scene that no child should witness. By 3 p.m. that day, the police found the remaining body parts on the mountainside 500 meters away from the school. The head belonged to John Hayes, an 11-year-old boy studying at the school. He was brutally murdered, sawed in half, and his remaining body had many bloody cuts. Before sunrise, Hayes' head was placed in front of the school gate. The clear purpose of the perpetrator was to let the students discover it when they arrived at school. In John Hayes' mouth, a piece of paper was found. This paper was written in red ink, carrying a terrifying message. "This is just the beginning of the game. Try to stop me if you can. Stupid police, I really want to see everyone die. There is an excitement in killing. A bloody sentence for you guys is necessary to compensate for my bitter years." This message indicates that the perpetrator could continue to commit more murders if not stopped. The perpetrator is challenging the police. He seems to enjoy killing and seems to be seeking excitement from his brutal actions. The murderer's message was signed as Sakakibara School Killer. In both Japanese and English, Sakakibara means rose. Japanese police believe that Sakakibara's method of committing the crime mimics the Zodiac Killer in San Francisco in the 1960s. On June 4, 1997, a letter titled Sakakibara Seito was sent to the Shimbun newspaper. In the letter, the perpetrator condemned the Japanese education system for pressuring him. When the newspaper staff misspelled Sakakibara's name as Onibara, Demon Rose, he wrote another message threatening to kill 3 vegetables a week. His name was misread, or his mood was ruined. In this message, vegetables refer to people with mental and physical disabilities. Initially, the police suspected the murderer was a man from 20 to 40 years old. However, a 14-year-old male student who knew John became a suspect when he showed suspicious behavior during the interrogation. The police got his handwriting from the school for comparison, and the girl attacked in February also recognized him. As the police tightened the net, Sakakibara could not continue to commit crimes and was arrested on June 28. He confessed to using a hammer to kill Ayaka Yamashita, a female student at Tomogaoka Middle School, before killing John Hayes. Due to Japanese law prohibiting the disclosure of the identity of juvenile criminals, this male student was only referred to as Boya in the media. Horrifying murders. Around 4:30 p.m. of February 10, 1997, in the city of Kobe, 2 elementary school girls were walking on the street as usual when they were suddenly attacked from behind by a teenager. The perpetrator used a hammer to attack, seriously injuring one of the 2 girls. The victim described that the perpetrator was wearing a uniform of a secondary school and carrying a student bag. Based on this information, the victim's father asked the school to provide a student portrait so that his daughter could identify. However, this request was denied. This father did not stop there. He filed a police request for photo identification, but was still not approved. This has caused much criticism. Many people believe that the school student identity protection measures are covering up for criminals. At noon on March 16th, Ayoka Yamashita, 10 years old, met Sakakibara looking for a toilet at school when she led him to the toilet. He asked her to turn around to thank, then hit her head with a hammer without explaining why. Ayoka died immediately from a brain injury. About 200 meters from the scene, a little girl witnessed the whole incident as she was escaping. The murderer stabbed her with a 13 centimeters long knife. Fortunately, the wound was not too serious and the girl was saved. After the attack on March 16th, the murderer wrote in his diary, "I tested the fragility of humans. By hitting a girl's head with a hammer, I was too excited to remember clearly. My mother said, after watching the news, the poor girl is dead. There are no signs that I will be caught. Thank you, death god. Please continue to protect me." On May 24th, after 1:30 p.m., John Hayes, 11 years old, was on his way to his grandfather's house and met Sakakibara. Sakakibara lured John to the bridge to see the green turtle, and then strangled John to death. The next day, Sakakibara returned to the scene, dismembered John, and took him home. That same day, the police launched a search for John, but were unsuccessful. That night, the police interrogated Sakakibara when he just discarded the murder weapon. In a later psychiatric examination, it was pointed out that Sakakibara had sexual behavior with the corpse and drank blood from the wounds on John's face. Argument: because he was not old enough to be criminally responsible, the perpetrator was only put under probation for 2 years. This verdict caused a wave of outrage in public opinion, because the crime that Sakakibara committed was very clear, brutal, and intentional. Under public pressure, Sakakibara was imprisoned, although his real identity was still not made public. In March 2004, the Japanese Ministry of Justice announced that Sakakibara, then 21 years old, had been released. His real name and new residence were kept secret for safety. In June 2015, Sakakibara, then 32 years old, published an autobiography called Zeka through Ota Publishing House. In the book, he detailed the murders and expressed regret, despite opposition from the victims' families. The book sold well, with a consumption of 250,000 copies. The Shukan Post newspaper, outraged by Sakakibara's behavior, published his real name, Shinichiro Azuma, along with his home address at that time. This forced Shinichiro Azuma to constantly change his residence to avoid media attention. The brutality in the murders that Sakakibara committed, along with his notoriety as one of the infamous child killers, created pressure on the Japanese parliament, forcing them to reconsider the age of criminal responsibility. As a result, in 2000, the Japanese legislative body announced that they would lower the age of criminal responsibility from 16 to 14 years old. Thank you for watching. If you have any information about the case, please comment below.